YouTube founder community, Struts fans, random people on the internet. My name is Giggens, and we are here today to talk about the Struts' debut album, Everybody Wants the Struts, released through Interscope Records and Free Solo Music in 2016. From what I can remember, this was also reissued in a slightly different format for CD with a different track listing. I could be wrong about that. The Struts are totally inspired by classic rock and roll and the whole lifestyle mentality of the rock and roll thing. If you were around in the early 2000s, Jet was that band for you. If you are around now, the Struts are that band for you. And I don't mean any of that in a negative way. I love Jet. That first album, great album. This album, also a great album. It's fun, it's loose, it's lighthearted. It's just rock and roll, man. It's only rock and roll, but I like it. So, this group, pretty young dudes from Britain. The lead singer sounds, excuse me, and looks a little bit like Freddie Mercury. And again, I mean that as a compliment. His vocal ad-libs, the notes that he can hit, the timbre in his voice is as reminiscent of Freddie. But in no way is that like he's trying to sound like Freddie Mercury. It's like, wow, that dude kind of sounds like Freddie, but like that's just his own voice. Absolutely fantastic. The whole group is very tight. They're well-played musicians. They bounce off each other very well. And they made some great rock and roll tunes here. So I'm stoked on this album. I love it. I've been playing it to death. It's just a fun, loose, lighthearted album with some moments of balladry. You know, your typical standard classic rock kind of stuff. But it doesn't sound like it's trying to be classic rock. It sounds like now, but with a classic rock influence. Because rock and roll always does this thing where it, revolves on itself every 15 years. So it doesn't sound like it's catering to the past. It definitely sounds like something now, which if you weren't ever interested in classic rock and you heard this group for the first time, this would probably blow your mind, which is really, really cool. But Roll Up, I love this song. It's the first song on the album. It's a total call to arms. It's like, hey, get ready for this band. They're going to blow your mind. Super big rock and roll hooky chorus, gang vocals, a ripping solo, Freddie Mercury style vocal, especially during the ad-libs, and the big in-your-face rock and roll feel. I just dig it. It's just this humongous, you can just see someone saying like, step up, roll up, we're here for the rock and roll party, like this is it. Love it. What an intro. Could have been me. This is a great single from this one. Excellent groove of a rocker, total head bobber. It's one of those, fist in the air anthem kind of things. You can totally imagine 15,000 kids at a concert screaming along to this thing. Super tight drumming on this one. I absolutely love the drums here. And the bass is really rubbery. You can hear the bass really well, which I think lends itself to a good rock and roll track. Yeah, drums and guitars and vocals. Obviously, that's one of the most important things you could have in a band, or several of the most important. But a really good bass adds a whole different dimension. So, love the bass on this one. But the tone of the guitars, with that said, the tone of the guitars is great too. I love the vocals so much in this one. You can hear the anguish in his voice, you can hear the determination, you can hear the longing. And yeah, while it does sound a bit like Freddie, it also sounds a bit like Luke, the lead singer. It sounds like him. So, you wear your influences on your sleeve when it comes to rock and roll, and there's nothing wrong with that. This song has a lot of wisdom and energy in abundance. And I like the gang vocals in the middle bit. It's just a good rock and roll song. Kiss This. Holy crap, the chorus on this thing will stay in your head for days. This is one of the best choruses on this album. It's a kick-ass rockin' riff. That sing-along chorus, the super clean guitar tone of the verses before it kicks in. Rock is not dead. If anyone tells you rock and roll is dead, they gotta screw loose, man, because rock and roll is still alive. It's just a straight up and down, in your face, listen to this song, get it stuck in your ears, and sing it for the next 3 days, because it will not leave your head. It's the punch that this song has will knock you out. I love it. Great track. Put Your Money on Me. This is a really good song, too. The harmonies on here were kind of blowing me away. Again, more catchy hooks. If there's one thing this group is good at, it's writing catchy hooks. They definitely grew up listening to the Jet and the Darkness and all those other bands of the early 2000s. The tambourine, man, a rock and roll staple. You can't go wrong with a good tambourine. It gives the song a bit of a dancey touch, and the dueling guitars I think are cool. They definitely add some texture and dynamics that make it more interesting. And Luke's vocals kind of up front are really, just a hell of a lot of fun to listen to. It's playful, it's easy on the ears, it's a modern rock kind of classic track. This one definitely wears its heart on its sleeve, but I like it. I like that it does. I like that there's a modern rock and roll band that I can get stoked about, and I'd like to see them on the radio. I think that'd be great. I think the radio would definitely benefit from an actual rock and roll band. Look, I very rarely put my opinion on the state of if I don't like a band or not, but bands like Imagine Dragons or what's that other one? 21 Pilots. If you dig them, great. I'm happy you do. I'm glad you enjoy them. That's what rock and roll is about. If you like it, like it. For me personally, I am not a fan of those bands. I think they make the most trite, lame, boring, garbage music ever. And that's just my stupid little opinion. I'm just a nobody on the internet with glasses. This is rock and roll, man. This is what should be on the radio. You want a good rock and roll song from 2020 or 2016? Put this on. Merry-Go-Round. Here we go with the slightly ballady stuff, so more of a broken-hearted kind of thing. Heavy strings in the background, smooth bass line. It's reflective. The lyrics are a bit lonely, but the build-up kind of has that classic rock feel again. I'm digging it, and it's good to see that they can change it up a little bit, go a bit deeper than the whole party atmosphere. Dirty Sexy Money, another one that just sticks in your head. Super infectious chorus. The vocal on this thing is just wicked exciting. It just rips through. It's a crazy fun song. The repeated lines gain more and more energy. The dancey chorus, yeah, fun song. The shakers, the effects, the dynamics, the layering on this thing just makes for a really effective track. And that's side one. Side two starts off with a song called The Old Switcheroo. Big, joyous, flirty type of song, which is exactly what you think it'd be about. Switching it up. Again, more big group vocals on here. The guitars in this one are a bit more slinky, for lack of a better term, which I think is cool. The drums sound huge. But again, a total groove, a total earworm. She makes me feel like, this one's cool. I like the clean guitars on this one. This sounds like a Fratelli song. Remember them? The whistle-laden hook on this track is fun. It's straight out of a 2006 indie rock book. I mean, all the groups in that time had some sort of catchy weirdo hook with like either a weird instrument or a whistle or I don't know. That was just a really good time for indie rock. But yeah, it's nice to hear the acoustic guitars on here. The ooh chorus is nice. It's a bit lighthearted and poppy, but again, adds a nice shift and a nice dynamic to an album that's full of big rock hooky songs. Young Stars, digging this track. It's another rock ballad here. Huge open production on this one. Definitely sounds like someone else produced it, but it's a big sort of openness to it. Big boomy drums, and more of those sing-along vocals. They love those sing-along vocals. Black Swan. This one's a little bit like darker. The vibe's a little bit more tense. The chorus is kind of reflective, which is nice. A little bit more pained. It's a mover. It picks up more and more as the track goes, but it's definitely got a different shift in the whole overall feel, where it doesn't follow the party rock anthem that they've been writing for the rest of the album. It kind of has its own little territory there. These times are changing. Back to the fun time party rock. The guitar riff on this one is straight out of the Joe Walsh book. This is straight up 70s Joe Walsh. And damn it, another big hooky chorus. Who'd have thunk? The last two songs on here are really good too. Only Just to Call Away. Has a nice like slow growl kind of hook to it. It's a short song, which is nice, but big lumbering drums, and the lyrics are much more introspective, which is nice. Doesn't have the big hooky chorus kind of thing going on, but a nice, attractive little song. And Where Did She Go? The last track on here is Swinging and Lively and Loose. This sounds like a modern-day Rolling Stones song. Real rubbery bass, and I like the ascending moments that the track takes. And it's got that closing celebratory feel. It feels like it's supposed to be the last song on the album, which is pretty cool. And the guitar solo on here was really Brian May-ish, which I like a lot. I like the breakdown where it kind of stops and they bring it back up again. I mean, they follow all the tricks in the book, but man, it's a good album. Here's the back cover with the girl holding the set list there, and the inner sleeve is very cool. old school, here's what the band looks like, here's a little biography about them, here's their thank yous. I mean, look at it. The dude even looks like Freddie. But, yeah, the 4 guys there. And the back cover, classic rock shots. You got them wearing hats and loose clothes. You got messy long hair. He's wearing those big Keith sunglasses like in the 60s. I mean, it just screams classic rock, but I dig it. The label's cool. I love their logo. Bands with cool logos. You remember what that looks like, it'll stick in your head. So yeah, my brother got me into this band, and he got me this record for Christmas, and because I'd heard about them from him, but I never really like got into the music. I may have heard 1 or 2 songs here or there, but when I got to finally hear this whole thing, it just totally took me by surprise, and I was like, all right, gotta review this thing. This has been so much fun. It's a great album. You put it on, you have a good time, you rock out with it, you sing along with it, they get stuck in your head. I really can't say anything negative about this, beyond the fact that it does kind of have this samey feel throughout the rest of the album, but I kind of like that. In a world where we don't have good, loose rock and roll bands, I mean, they're out there, but they're a bit harder to find, it feels like sometimes. And so when someone introduces you to a band like the Struts, your ears perk up, or mine do anyway, where I'm like, cool, a shredding guitar solo, cool, big hooky drums, I like that. Man, this chorus is fun. Dude, that guy's voice is awesome. Like, it captures your imagination. And that's what rock and roll is supposed to be about, man. It's supposed to be having fun. Let it rip. Turn it on, turn it up, turn it loose. The Struts, man. Everybody wants the Struts. My name is Giggens. I'm going to give this thing at least an 8 out of 10 on this album. I absolutely love it, and I'm going to probably put it on after I finish this video. So, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. The Struts, please keep making records. We need you. Bye-bye.